This is AccuSizer software training on using the database tools. The topics covered in this video include the Sample Explorer filters, how to import and export projects, how to export a database into Excel files, usually for selected results, and how to perform a backup of the database. Here we see the default view for the Sample Explorer. It basically includes all the data currently within this database, and it's pretty much the data I collected during this year. But what if I want to filter this to find specific results? I could come up here to View, Sample Explorer Filters. And what if I just want to find the results for a sample I ran that had the name of 8671? I can choose that, 8671, click on this Limit Displayed Samples by Run Name, click OK. And now the only results that will appear in the Sample Explorer are those particular runs that have that sample name, and that can be quite helpful. Within this dialog box, Sample Explorer Filters, we can choose which ways we want to filter the data we see within the Sample Explorer. We could filter by project. Remember, always click on this limit check to filter on this given criteria. I could look at only specific projects. I could look at results that used a specific protocol. Down here, I could say I want to look at only successful or aborted measurements. Here we could filter based on the run name. If we're using an auto sampler, we could filter on which trays we were using. We could filter based on instrument type, perhaps just measurements made on the SIS, because I hook up to various instruments over the course of a year. Here we could filter based on the user, the standard admin when we log in, or we could see if there's any results by the user Jerry Garcia. Or we could limit it based on the dates when the measurement was made. Click on the filters you want to apply, and then click OK. When we go to File, Database Tools, we look at the Database Tools dialog box. There are 4 tabs: Database Export, Backup Restore, Project Import Export, and Database Settings. The tab I use the most often is Project Import Export, and I use this because when customers call up or send a message and ask if we can review their data, we ask if it's possible for them to export the project so we can review it. To do this, you would click on this Project Import Export tab, choose a project you want to export, click Execute, choose the file location where you want this file to appear, give it a name, Export1, and then we'll export it with a file extension px2. Execute. And now that project has been exported, and it could be emailed to someone else for viewing. If I ever want to import the database into the software, I come up here to File, Database Tools, Project Import Export tab, click on Import, search on your computer for the database you want to import, select that file, open, select the database, click on Execute. Now that database will appear here under Imported. In the Sample Explorer, there are the projects from the computer you're working on, and then the imported ones appear here. Under Database Tools, another tool at our disposal is Database Export. Here we choose the units we want to export for the given results. Typically, I will choose here counts versus sizes. I'm going to choose a project over here. Let's say it's August 20 CMP. There's a header, which is actually the first tab in the exported spreadsheet. I'm going to choose using the sample summary as the export header. And I'll export the data into Excel Workbook XLSX file format. If I now click Execute, it will ask me where to export the data to. I will choose a location, click OK. It will now export the data from that project in these units in this format. We can go look for that exported database now. If I come over to here, I exported it into this folder. Here is one of the results. I'll open that result. We'll see what it looks like. And you'll see we have the header here, which is the summary information. On the next tab, we have size versus counts. And here, for instance, if I like creating graphs in Excel as opposed to in the AccuSizer software, I could come in and start just taking this data, let's say up to 40 microns. I could go to Insert Scattergram with a curve, and now we're creating a plot within Excel of the exported data. Some other settings in here include to back up and restore the database. Here we could just click on Back Up the Database. We could come over to Database Settings. Here we could automatically back up the database every month, for example. So these are the various tools at our disposal under Database Tools, exporting the database, which really exports just the units chosen here for the chosen project, or given the criteria we select here under Record Selections. We have where we can back up the database, where we import and export projects, and then where we can automatically, here we can automatically back up the database at recorded times.